Thanks, Lex. Right, good stuff, everybody. I just want to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the UK market landscape at the moment, and then we'll go into a more spirits-focused case study, as Lex said. What I just want to do at this stage is reiterate we have focused on spirits, but the process and the tool can be used with any category within store, and it can really get under the skin of a category from a shopper perspective. So you get to know whether your range is strong or weak compared to other ranges in the market in targeting those key trends that are driving shopper purchases. So to start with, just talking a little bit about market dynamics, we know it's challenging out there. You can't move for headlines in the media around cost of living and things like that. The latest set of inflation numbers came out from the ONS yesterday and rose for the fifth month in a row. We know it's a struggling market. We also know that alcohol's perhaps performing worse than total market, but forms around, according to Nielsen, about 10% of FMCG. There are ongoing conversations with the industry and Chancellor around duty, which is higher than other EU member states. So there's a lot of doom and gloom about, but there is some positivity. So a recent stat from Kantar or research from Kantar really indicates if you understand the shopper, it's really important. So a brand that can, or product that can develop can demonstrate a wide range of benefits will generate more spend per occasion. So two benefits, an increase of 6%. Six benefits, an increase of 10%. So it's really important to know your shopper. We know that retailers face a challenge in terms of holding shoppers. They will vote for their feet. They can't find what they want or they're not happy about something. As shoppers in the UK, we made on average 280 shopping trips over the last year, and that's growing. We also know the information from the bottom is from shopper intelligence. Loyalty is harder to come by. So, particularly with younger shoppers who are much more promiscuous, older shoppers perhaps a little bit better. Then, if we look at discounters, their shopper penetration is around on average 67%, which is not far between the traditional big four. So they are capturing shoppers. So it's really important to get ranging right from a shopper perspective. And that's what RESolution does to help. From a shopper perspective, we talked about them feeling a little bit stressed. In fact, Nielsen numbers show that cost of living, those facing harder times because of cost of living, have risen by around 10% versus last year. And shopper trips are growing 7% as we look for deals. But there are some opportunities. So people might be drinking and eating at home more. And actually, treats for today and dinner for tonight, according to Nielsen, are now around 60% of all missions and are growing. They're growing up 10%. We also know that 61% of branded shoppers will pay more for what they perceive as quality. So there are opportunities out there. Knowing your shopper and what they're looking for is really important. For example, if we look at spirits, around about a quarter of all spirits drunk at home are done around the dinner table. Is that an opportunity that you could capitalize on? And that's a question that's worth considering. So we're going to talk a little bit more about firstly consumer and shopper and how that links into spirits, and then we'll get into talking about what RESolution has unearthed around spirits and whiskey in particular. So firstly, I'm going to talk about innovation. So we do know that a large proportion of branded and private label shoppers will pay more for something new and different. And we also know in grocery has an advantage over discounters because the heavily branded MPD shoppers are responsible for around 15% of spend. The chart on the right is from Kantar, and what we've done is we've used Kantar data to benchmark innovation spend by NPD type and their performance year on year versus what it is in the market. So you can see from the black bars that sort of 56% of innovation spend comes from new brands versus 21% in grocery. And we know that CGA data shows that a large proportion of consumers want drinks to be exciting and would pay more from that. So innovation is really important in spirits, and this is something that it's important that ranges capture. We talked about cost of living. We also know from CGA data that they reckon about 1 in 4 people are going out less because of those challenges. So more alcohol is being consumed at home, and understanding the purchase drivers and how that impacts behavior in store is important. So 3 out of 5 consumers say it's important that their spirits drinks are exciting. And nearly half of those reckon that its unique flavors are the key attribute for that. So they're looking for something different, something new. We've all seen the headlines around Gen Zs trying to moderate their alcohol consumption. Indeed, there's something called the zebra effect, where they're going 1 session on, 1 session off with alcohol, and that's the help with the rise of no and low alcohol brands. But we also know that those consumers buy a lot through social media when they find products that resonate. So just understanding how these trends impact purchase decisions is really important, and that's where resolution can come in and help your business. So we mapped out those 6 key subcategories within spirits that Lex mentioned earlier. We've mapped out trends that are impacting those. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I'm going to talk firstly about, I'm going to focus in on whiskey as we've got a whiskey case study later. So some of the trends that are impacting the whiskey category. We know premium and provenance and heritage is really important to the whiskey community, and that's a trend that doesn't go away. Irish brands are performing well, and they have performed really well over the last sort of 12, 18 months. Some brands are targeting younger consumers to get new trial and new customers into the category. They're doing that with different, easier to consume blends and perhaps contemporary packaging. Flavors are a trend that seems to be happening, which has come from the US market. So we know that some whiskey brands from US are including sort of things like honey and spice within to their products, which are driving trial. More whiskey is being used in cocktails. Who doesn't love an old fashioned? And um, we do know also, as always, distillers are trialing new age and cask experimentation. But what I think I really want to say is that our tool Resolution can look at all these trends that make shoppers come to store and pick up products, and can set and assess a range based on strengths and weaknesses, or dare I say, opportunities, if that range to improve for those shoppers based on these trends. So we can quantify whether a range is strong or weak, or whether there's opportunities to make it even better for your shoppers if you're a buyer.